You are listening to the Mike Riley Now podcast on the Young Angels of America Network. Follow us by visiting MikeRileyNow.com. Yes, y'all. Welcome to the Mike Riley Now podcast here on the Young Angels of America Network. I am your host, Mike Riley, of course, and of course I am joined by the most sensational co-host in the whole wide world, my girl Charlie Sandy, and the world's most infamous Miss Cam Robson. Say what's up.
Hi.
That is what I'm talking about. Welcome to the show. Today is Thursday, March the 16th, 2017. It has been another crazy week in the world. We have so much to talk about, but first, I got to start out by shouting out. I got to do my shout outs. So first person we want to shout out is Brooke Doherty back there. She's the director of Young Angels of America. Make sure you log on to youngangelsnetwork.org, and check out. We have a brand new website up. It's so pretty. I'm all over it. So, you know, hey. I am also broadcasting live on Facebook Live, and I'm also broadcasting live on Instagram Live. You can check me out on Instagram Live at Mike Riley Now. What's up, Instagram family over here? My Facebook family's over there. I am at Mike Riley Now on Instagram. And log on to MikeRileyNow.com. Click the top of the page. Listen to it live so you can listen to it live through your headphones. And then you can also join the discussion tonight. Call into the show. The number's 310-910-9113. Once again, that's 310-910-9113. So everybody log in, everybody call in, and we're going to get this show started. We have a sensational show this evening. So much has been going on in the world. First thing, you know, I'm going to catch everybody up on the week, right? So one of the big first things that happened, right, was Rachel Maddow. For those of you who don't know who Rachel Maddow is a journalist on MSNBC. You probably live under a rock if you don't know who Rachel Maddow is. But Rachel Maddow had this this tax return thing that she found from Donald Trump. She found his 2005 tax return. And this was supposed to be like the smoking gun. Because, you know, the Democrats right now, we're really into like these gotcha moments. You know what I mean? We're looking for that one thing that's going to take Donald Trump down. And we still haven't found that thing yet. So we thought that's what was going to happen with the 2005 tax return. And it turned out it kind of was a dud. There was nothing extraordinary in it. It showed that in 2005, Donald Trump paid more taxes than I'll probably ever pay in taxes in my entire life. Doesn't get him off the hook because 2005 was a long ass time ago. You know, clap if you understand what I'm talking about. Instagram and Facebook people and everybody listening live. That was a long time ago. So, and then the week just got more bizarre. Just got more and more bizarre as time went along. Trump got into a Twitter war with Snoop Dogg. That was pretty interesting. You didn't hear about that?
I didn't.
Oh, yeah. No, Snoop Dogg put out this video where it showed Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, but like a guy dressed up like Donald Trump in a clown outfit. And it showed Snoop kind of shooting him, not shooting him, but with like a toy gun at the end. And then they started passing a blunt around or something like that. And Donald Trump tweeted Snoop Dogg at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's awesome. And then what else happened this week? The wiretapping thing happened, which pretty much meant that according to Sean Spicer, wiretapping means alternate surveillance.
Yes.
That can happen through spying through a microwave, which
Absolutely.
is pretty.
I haven't opened a microwave since. I'm bloody terrified.
I'm telling you, the toaster's been laughing at me.
Yeah,
It's been kind of crazy. My toaster's been laughing at me.
Rumors are spreading among my appliances.
I think the blenders are really the scary people.
Yeah, the blenders are what's really, they're making all those juices. You don't know what's going on with them, the blenders. And then a Hawaiian judge, a federal judge in Hawaii, once again slapped down Donald Trump's administration's travel ban. Just slapped it down and said it is unconstitutional and they are not going to stand for it. And man, people went crazy. There's this whole boycott Hawaii thing that's happening on Twitter right now, which is hilarious because the Trump supporters want to boycott Hawaii. And I'm personally asking if can you please boycott California while you're at it?
Please. I'm so
There
to boycott anything.
There are too many people here, and I'm telling you, we could use a little bit of space. But the big thing that happened this week was obviously Trump rolled out with his budget, his annual budget on basically what happens is every so often in Congress has to release and the president has to come up with how we're going to spend our money, how we're going to spend all the money that the government makes, right? You know, so they come up with ways to spend this money. Let's say the government, you know, through taxes and through all the stuff that we do make, all the ways the government makes money, selling weapons, How are we gonna?
Oh crap! We're having technical difficulties. Okay, I guess we're still on air. Hold on. That was weird.
Yeah, there's definitely a delay.
Okay, hold on, everybody. Sorry.
I wonder how that happened.
I can't think now.
Oh, that's weird. Hello. Are we? Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Hello. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. No, it's still.
It's
still
delayed. What's going
It's
on?
echoing.
Oh man, we're having.
They wiretapped us.
Oh Lord.
Well, maybe we
They heard me.
Let's look at Instagram.
They heard about me talking through the microwave. Hold on real quick. This sucks. Representing. All right, y'all. We are back live. I am sorry about that. We had technical difficulties. Something weird happened in the mic where we couldn't hear ourselves, and there was a weird delay. But never mind that. Log on to MikeRileyNow.com. Click the top of the page. Listen to the show live. Still, that's what happens when you go live. If we weren't live, you wouldn't have witnessed that.
Technology
Yeah,
is
man.
complicated.
I love it.
Who
Wait till
knew?
we have like an actual show. You're gonna really be on
Is there
here.
any way that we can move this so that it's up straight up? So that
Try to go ahead and do it. Anyway,
Okay,
so we're
I
dealing
hope
with
I
the
don't make
camera.
anyone
Sorry, everyone.
nauseous.
But let's go ahead and jump into the show. Let's jump right into it. And I think we left off talking about the Hawaiian
Nope,
judge,
there isn't.
Yes,
how
we
he
did.
blocked
Boycotting.
down, how he boycotted the travel ban, and there was the Hawaiian ban, and there was that whole thing like that. But one of the biggest things that happened this week, like I said, was Trump's budget. There was the budget plan that rolled out, and with the budget plan, basically what happens, this is how the government decides how we're going to spend our money, right? So what Trump proposed was taking specific parts of our budget, cutting it, and allocating it all to the military. You know, most of it to the military. So we're cutting like the EPA, we're cutting the Department of Education, we're cutting lots of vital programs, social programs, in favor of fueling a military-industrial complex, if you will.
Because we know how poorly underfunded our military is.
Right.
I mean, they're just
Exactly.
grasping at straps. For this stuff.
Right. We have, and for those of you who understand, my girl Charlie was being extremely facetious there because we have the largest military in the world by far.
Or have for ages.
By far, and it has tons and tons of money.
We're not lacking.
Definitely
There's a reason
not.
why the rest of the world is batshit terrified of America. And
Not
it's
to
because
mention-
we ain't lacking in a military.
Right. We have bases based all across this world. Excuse me. All across this world. That happened on live radio. I can't believe that.
What just happened?
No. Man, this live thing is cool. It's pretty new. But anyway, and to segue into that, there's also the healthcare thing, right? Now, we're going to kind of talk about this in conjunction a little bit tonight. Because with war and with what's going on with healthcare, there is kind of a conjunction, if you will. They're kind of corresponding with each other in a weird kind of way, right? And I'm going to try to explain how. Okay. So when the Republicans rolled out their healthcare, their Obamacare replacement that happened last week, their whole argument is we want Americans to have access to healthcare, right? So basically, you don't have healthcare as a right. You basically do have it as a privilege. Because anything that really involves money is more of a privilege, right? I mean, if you can't afford to buy something and you can't have it, that means that if you have money, technically speaking, you're privileged to have that thing you can't afford to buy. In the case of the United States, that means healthcare, right? So there comes a level of income inequality. So technically speaking, it's not a right. Healthcare isn't a right. Okay. Whether you believe that's right or wrong, that's up to you. I mean, I really want people to call into the show so we can talk about it.
Please.
And
But
You should let them.
like,
people, Cam is on this Instagram thing. She is not playing with it tonight. She's like, go ahead, Cam. I'm not mad at you though. We gotta shout out our Instagram fans. They're very, very
Well, I
important.
was trying to give them the phone.
I know, I get you. If anybody knows the preamble to our Constitution, that says
I'm going to paraphrase here. I don't know it verbatim.
Establish welfare to ensure domestic tranquility.
That part, yes.
Yeah.
And provide, that part, the general
provide
welfare.
For the common defense.
And provide for the common defense and the general welfare. And also to your inalienable rights, which state that you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, when you break that down, what are your rights and what are the government's responsibilities to a sense? And I'm going somewhere with this, so follow me here, okay? Your right to life, right? What does that mean? You have the right to life. So if you get sick and you don't have any health insurance and you want to go see a doctor or something along those lines, or if something happens, if you start getting a pain in your chest or something along those lines, and you're either too poor to go see a doctor, or you have one of these junk healthcare plans that the Republicans are trying to put out, what they call affordability, like what happened before Obamacare. Because before Obamacare, you were able to buy these healthcare plans that were like $50 a month, $100 a month, and most of them were they're what they call junk healthcare plans. And junk healthcare plans basically are healthcare plans that really don't provide a lot of coverage. So like if you get sick, you go to the doctor, you're getting like a Band-Aid and a bottle of Robitussin, and they're telling you to go on your way. Or or you have to go into debt, right? So when you have the right to life, doesn't that kind of mean the same thing? Isn't that the right to life? Now let's talk about another fundamental right, right? When I started to kind of listen, and as I'm listening to this, as I'm listening to these debates that are going on about the right to healthcare or not the right to healthcare, or the right to life, essentially, it kind of made me start thinking about like our other rights. Like we talked about this last week a little bit, but the right to the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Yeah. This one to me is something that, in my personal and honest opinion, really needs to be kind of broken down a little bit in a different way. It's strange. Healthcare and the Second Amendment are pretty much ass backwards.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're...
For lack of a better... And I know this is a controversial subject. I know a lot of people... The United States of America... I grew up here. For all intents and purposes, we are one of the most violent, gun-obsessed countries on the face of the planet. And I know because I was one of those gun-obsessed people at one point. When I was a kid, I used to love guns. I grew up with guns. My dad was a gun nut. My dad taught me how to shoot. He taught me how to clean guns. I knew everything about guns. I could tell you, I was the kind of person where I'd watch a movie and I'd be like, oh, he got an M16, or that's a Uzi, or that's a Tech 9, or that's a 7.62 3 or whatever. That's a 308, or blah, blah, blah. I was really into it, and I love to shoot. And I still like target shooting. It's pretty fun. But like I said before, in my opinion, and I want people to really think about this. When I do this show, what I'm trying to do, and hopefully what I'm doing by the grace of God, is I'm hoping I open up your mind a little bit. I get you to think a little bit, think rationally, to kind of challenge your thinking. Right? Do we honestly really have the right, or should we have the right to have guns versus the right to have health care?
We live in a country where you have the right to take away a life before you have the right to save your own.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Exactly, Charlie. It seems a little, like I said, to me, it's a little ass backwards. Well, okay. Well, let's break the Second Amendment down a little bit. Most people I meet don't know what the Second Amendment says verbatim, and I kind of want to read it verbatim real quick to see if anybody can help me out here. Okay, the Second Amendment says verbatim: "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Does anybody know what the hell that means? No, honestly, let's say it again. A well-regulated... This is what the Second Amendment says.
Break it down.
Comma quote. This is what the Second Amendment says. All my people listening live on Spreaker, everybody on Facebook Live, everybody on Instagram Live. This is what the Second Amendment says. It says, a well-regulated militia...
Strong army.
Being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Besides the point, first of all, to me, that sounds ambiguous as hell. Like the language is Victorian enough
to the point where the debate over this has been taken to the Supreme Court. Because the language is just so ambiguous on it. Like, what does that even mean? A well-regulated militia? You mean like the National Guard? You mean like the United States Army?
Well, the language is outdated as the law itself, to be honest.
Right, because the law was written in 1789.
When it took about 8 minutes to load a gun, you had a lot of time to rethink the situation while you're sitting there stuffing gunpowder in.
Doing the musket thing.
You're sitting there thinking, maybe it's okay. Maybe we don't need to kill each other over this little argument.
Right. Not to mention you couldn't kill a whole slew of people.
Yeah,
and
now we have
exist. Semi-automatics that go
right away. That can mow down a whole bunch of people in no time.
And healthcare wasn't given as a right because healthcare didn't exist at this point. When the Constitution was made, there was no form of healthcare whatsoever to base it off of. So of course it wasn't in the Constitution. They didn't just randomly create it.
Right.
But they said a right to life, and at that point, life was the epitome of what then became our healthcare. It's all they could say at that point was that you have the right to life. And when we found a way to save lives, i.e. health, doctors and new vaccines and medication, and a right to healthcare, and realised that would cost money, it should encompass under this whole right to life that we intrinsically have a right to keep that life going.
Yeah, I mean, and really, back in 1787, I know, like you said, they weren't necessarily considering that, but that is what the right to life really means. But let's dig into this a little bit further, right? So, in the gun industry, in the world of guns, right? For people when I hear people say, okay, let me ask you another question. Let me present this another way. For everybody out there who's listening, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you have the right to drive a car?
Not yet. I only have my permit.
Well, I'm speaking in basic principles, right? For most people, when they hear driving, everybody encompasses the idea that driving is a privilege. I mean, am I right? Driving is a privilege, right? So if driving is a privilege, and why is driving a privilege? Driving is a privilege, well, because
it can be dangerous.
It can be dangerous.
It has the possibility of causing harm to others.
And if you cause harm to others, then because it's a privilege, by definition, it can be revoked in certain circumstances.
Not to mention, you have to be licensed by the state to be able to drive a car. You have to pass an evaluation. You have to pass
both a physical and a mental, or you
visual.
have to visual and a physical one where you have to do it in front of people. There's more evaluations to getting a driver's license than there are to
get a gun permit.
You can walk in and you can, in some states.
Not in some states. Yeah, not
some states.
Definitely not here in California.
It's very different, but
yeah,
in some states you can walk straight in and say, "Oh, I'd like to purchase a gun. Can I get a gun license?" And they'll hand it over to you.
And there's no complications, really. I mean, there's a few complications too. You have to pass a background check, if you will. Not to mention these background checks aren't federal; they're not national background checks; they're state background checks.
And then for everyone that's listening, there's very big air quotes around background check.
Checks,
just in case you guys didn't pick up on that.
Because you're not going to have a background check on a private business and then go, well, I'm going to harm my business now by not selling this man my product.
Right.
So you're going to try and find a loophole no matter what to try and sell the product that you want to profit off of.
Whether or not you're selling it to someone that could possibly be dangerous towards others.
And my man Gary pointed out here on Instagram about, things like drinking and driving. For example, if you do have a driver's license, and you get caught drinking and driving, even if you get caught drinking and driving, what happens? Your driver's license gets revoked.
Mm-hmm. It's your responsibility.
It gets suspended. Your privileges get taken away because you can kill somebody. Not to mention you have to have insurance on it, right? Okay, let's get back to guns for a second, right? Do you have the right to own a gun? I have the right to own a car. I have access to a car, but do I have the right to drive it?
And I think... in terms, a lot of people hear the words privilege and they hear the words right thrown out, and they know what that means in terms of everyday language. But in sort of government policy terms, a privilege is conditional and is granted only after birth, and then at any point can be revoked due to certain circumstances.
Right.
Whereas a right is an inherent, irrevocable entitlement held by all citizens or all human beings at the moment of birth.
Exactly.
So do you, at the very moment of birth, have the right to own a gun?
You have the right to defend yourself. Mm-hmm. How you do that
is based on a person.
So now, like I said, think about this logically, and I understand what it's like in the United States of America. Trust me, I get it. First of all, I live in California, so I know I don't live in a place where people walk around with guns, you know, like in Arkansas and some places like that. I know people, I've had friends who come from there, and they always tell me how, you know, having a gun is just a normal thing. People walk around with guns. I've had friends who were in the military, and I get that they have an emotional attachment to their weapon. I understand that. Because, well, you know, they were in a war zone at one point, and, you know, their weapons saved their lives. Trust me, if I was in a war zone, or if this were the zombie apocalypse, I would, you know, I would really like that. I trust me, I definitely want to be strapped. But here in the United States, now I'm not saying you shouldn't have to have a gun, or you shouldn't be able to have a gun. Just like I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to have a car.
But we should be able to trust that you know how to use it properly.
And not to mention, it's still not an undivided, I mean, it's still not an inalienable right. Whatever the Second Amendment means to you, if it really means that you have the right to have a gun, you really don't. Because you, technically speaking, you can't just walk into a store and buy a gun. You have to pass a background check. And here in California, the government has to license you if you want to carry a handgun. You have to have a permit to go from state to state.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sorry, if you have an issue with a background check when getting a weapon, if you're saying the Second Amendment is a right and it's a violation, if you ask, it shouldn't be a problem for you to have this become a privilege.
Exactly.
If you have nothing to hide.
If you're a law-abiding citizen with a gun, then this shouldn't even be a problem at all.
So every single person, and I don't mean to offend here, but every single person that tends to argue so strongly for the Second Amendment being a right, I wonder, what the hell have you done in your past that makes you so attached to this fact that it's a right, when if it's a privilege, if you're a good citizen, if you're a law-abiding person that has done no legal wrong in their life, why do you need it so desperately to be a right?
Yeah, I really agree with Charlie on this, and a lot of the times it really gets under my skin when people have a problem with it, because this could possibly save other people's lives. Like,
exactly,
it could stop some of the catastrophes that have happened at schools and at colleges and at just, like, you know, your neighborhood park. Like, it could stop some of these massive shootings.
Well, that's what Barack Obama was talking about in the past, right? He was talking about common sense gun legislation. And he said, look at the statistics. More people get gunned down in this country daily than most countries get in like 10 years. Civilized countries. Even countries that are at war with each other. You know, there's got to be something to that.
And, you know, there's always the argument of, that I hear a lot of far right-wing people make, that is, you may give a person a gun, but it's the person who pulls the trigger.
Right, it's not the gun who kills people,
it's not
the person who kills people.
Well, you
why
know
are
what?
they
They
so
wouldn't kill the
objecting?
person if they didn't have the bloody gun.
I'll tell you like this. Look, you know, in that particular argument, that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, we're gonna dip into this. We're gonna kind of dip a little bit into this idea where I hear people say, well, you know, like you said, it's not the gun, it's the person that kills people. You hear a lot of these arguments about mental health, mental illness. Like, it wasn't my gun. You know, the gun itself wasn't the problem. It's the person. The person had a mental health issue. I understand that, which is why we're going to talk about health in a minute. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I'm comparing the two. I'm not saying that. First of all, I'll put my opinion out there. You know, if you feel like you need to have a gun for some reason, and I understand people in this country have emotional attachments to their weapons, I get it. I don't know why, but I understand.
I
I don't
respect
empathize it. I respect anybody's right, or the right to want to defend yourself with your
There's
weapon.
a right to freedom of speech and freedom of opinion in this country, which should be upheld.
Right.
But I think the right to bear a weapon that could possibly cause harm should be in a different
It
category.
should be checked a little bit.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this very loosey-goosey thing.
Right.
It should be a very strict, set of rules and certain things.
And I'll say one more thing. Sorry, Cam, I didn't mean to cut you
totally
off.
fine.
Sure. I did that. I'm just checking the time here. But just one more thing. The insurance companies, I think they're in the wrong damn business. Why? Like I said, we're going to segue this into healthcare because the medical industry is a profit motive industry. It's driven by profit, especially for insurance companies. Why? Because they can make a buck off of human beings. Everybody's going to get sick. Everybody's going to get hurt sooner or later. You're going to need that health insurance. It's so you have a customer for life. That's not fair. That's not okay. That's inhumane. What they should do is get into the gun industry. Why not have a federal law, where if you want to own a gun, you have to have liability insurance on it. Just in case you screw around and kill somebody, you're actually liable. There you go. Sorry, we're switching juice here. We have apple juice. We got to give our phones apple juice. Apple juice is juice for your apple. You get it? Like
He thinks he's funny.
ha 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 ha.
I love the poorly educated.
Yes, I am. Okay, no, but and think about it, insurance companies will make billions.
More than they already do.
However many guns you own, that's, you have to have higher insurance if you buy more bullets, if you kill somebody, X, Y, and Z. But whatever.
They seem to already be perfectly fine with putting a price on human life. So
Right. Why not do it in the gun industry? So I'm saying all this to say that we have this hardcore idea of we have the right to own a weapon that can kill someone, but you don't have the right.
to
You
save
don't have
someone.
the right. Yeah, to healthcare, to life. You don't have the right to life. That's a privilege.
Your life is not your own.
Your gun's not your privilege. Your healthcare is a privilege. How is that living in a democracy, in a society where you look out for the general welfare for people? How are we coming together as a United States? E pluribus unum, we're all in this together. How does that encompass we're all in this together? When we tell somebody, you have the right to have a weapon that can kill people, but you don't have the right to get looked at when you're sick or when you're hurt, unless you have the money to do it. And like I said, that doesn't take away from the gun argument either, because really then, technically speaking, having a gun isn't really a right then, is it? Because you have to have money to buy a gun too, and you have to be checked out, and it's just, the language is wrong. Like I said, shit was written back in 1787 with a very ambiguous language.
This was written and has not been modified.
Hasn't been modified
a single word since a time when none of the people here speaking could have voted, and half the people speaking here weren't considered citizens, weren't considered people.
Not to mention, yes, Charlie, that is true, and not to mention, the United States back then was one little sliver of the East Coast with 3 million people scattered across a vast continent where most people had agricultural jobs. It ain't like that no more.
And for every duel that was agreed to be had,
right.
I think about an eighth of them actually went through. It's some crazy statistic like that. Every single time a duel was called and they pulled out their guns, it was always dealt with before the shooting occurred. So they had a right to bear arms, they had a right to defend themselves, but even they had the common sense to, more often than not, just don't do it.
Well, yeah, and also at the time, they also didn't have semi-automatic guns that could mow down people in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which we've already made that point, but
yeah.
It just needs to be understood that, like, they didn't have the kind of ammunition or anything that we have now.
The magazine capacity.
Yeah.
The whole bit. And for those of you who are saying, well, our guns are necessary, and not to mention the argument for wanting to own a gun, right? My favorite is, well, we need something to take over our tyrannical government. Cut the shit, right? There is nobody in the history of this country who's ever taken on the United States government with their gun. Remember the Bundy crew tried it. The ones who took over that wildlife refuge in Oregon, and they all got acquitted. They all got to walk.
Remember the big ass military they have backing them.
And the drones,
yeah,
and shit like that,
and the microwaves,
and the microwave.
They got us in our homes, guys.
I'm telling you, man, those microwaves. Watch out. Next time I put my hot pocket in, son, I'm looking for Barack Obama. But then okay, so like I said, the reason I'm making this point is because I don't understand how in this nation, and this is a discussion we just all need to have. In this nation, how one is a right and the other one is a privilege. Do you honestly believe in that? You talk about mental health. Well, how do you think people get help for their mental health?
And
your mental health and your physical health are one and the same, are they not? So, these are things that we as a nation, I think we need to start addressing a little bit more. And start looking at it, like I said, open up your mind. Really have an open mind when you think about that. Think about it.
And I, coming from school, as Cameron and I both, we've recently had and have had multiple gun drills at our school. We have to know what to do when an intruder comes in with a semi-automatic machine gun and tries to gun us all down. I don't know. Before I came onto this show, I didn't know a bloody thing about healthcare, but I knew what to do if a man tried to shoot me down in the middle of my school. And I think that is the fucking problem with what we're talking about here, is that I know how to block a doorway, I know how to evacuate, I know how to do all this stuff.
Trust your gut.
Trust my gut when something when someone's pointing a gun at my head. I don't know the first bloody thing about what I'm supposed to do when I'm out of college and I'm no longer on my parents' healthcare, and I'm going to be sitting there going, what am I supposed to do? What's this new coverage? What was Obamacare? Why can't I have it? Ugh.
You try harder.
Yeah.
According to the Republicans, you get out there and you get yourself a better skill and you get a better job and you make more money. Because like I said,
I can't do that. Option. I can't do that if I don't ever make it to 20 because I'm gunned down in the middle of my school.
Exactly. Speaking of gunning people down. So in the beginning of the show, we talked about how the president this week released his budget plan, right? And in that budget plan, he asked for increased military spending, okay? So this increased military spending has got a lot of people scratching their heads. Like, why are we increasing our military spending? Like, what, of course, this is a Republican's wet dream, by the way. If you ever look, Republicans always take the majority of our tax money. 50 cents of every dollar you pay in taxes goes to our military. And I told you guys this last week. And I'm not talking about clothing and feeding them and shit like that. I'm talking about, bombs
drones,
and missiles. We have a military industrial complex. There's an industry behind it. There's defense contractors who have to make money, who get contracts from the government, from the United States government, okay?
And Eisenhower warned us about this in his farewell address. He said, you gotta watch out for these military industrial complexes. They're gonna come back and bite us in the ass, and look what's happened.
Charlie gets the gold star for today. Straight up and down. Because, exactly, Ike Eisenhower warned us about this in his farewell address. Now, in the midst of all this, right, everybody's kind of scratching their head a little bit saying, well, what's going on in the world? Okay? North Korea.
Because we're going to war.
Well, North Korea, right? Well, let's talk. Well, let me back it up a little bit, right? All of the world events that are taking place right now look like it's setting off a keg bomb a little bit, right? There's a fuse that's been lit all across the world.
Set of dominoes have been.
The dominoes have kind of fallen since we, the Western world, through the Reagans and the Bushes and all those cool people, and even the Clintons to a certain degree. We went in the Middle East and we pretty much screwed up that entire fucking region. We just screwed all their countries up. We screwed up Iraq. We screwed up Syria. We screwed up, what was the place Gaddafi? What was it? I'm having a brain fart right now. But yeah, we pretty much screwed up all these places, with the exception of Saudi Arabia.
No, because we have oil there.
Because we're cool with them. Libya, that's the word I was looking for. Libya. We screwed Libya up. Syria's having a civil war.
Africa, but okay.
So what happens is all of these people in these countries that don't want to fight, that aren't part of any terrorist organizations, they're starting to swim over the Mediterranean Sea and spill over into Europe. As a result, there's been this huge backlash. Now, there was an election in the Netherlands yesterday where one of the more Trumpian candidates was supposed to win, running on this narrative of anti-Islam. He didn't win, thank God. But this is the sentiment that's kind of being said, that's kind of being felt around the area. At the same time, Rex Tillerson, our Secretary of State, he's touring all across the East right now in places because of what's going on with North Korea. Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is, he's a fucking psycho. Right? The dude's crazy.
A lot of world leaders are.
Yeah. But he's the one.
He's like proper.
Yeah,
mental.
he's propping. He's testing his nuclear weapon. He's testing his bombs.
He's the OG.
Right.
OG
and if you
insane leader.
And if you remember back in the Bush era, in the George W. Bush era, I just threw up a dub for W right there. Right? I thought that was funny. George W. Bush talked about our axis of evil. He described the Soviet Union. He described some of our players in the Middle East, and he also said North Korea. Now, the people of North Korea saw what we did to the Middle East. So what did Kim Jong-un start doing? He said, you know what? I'm not going out like them. So they started arming themselves. They started making America the enemy. China is kind of in the middle. We got this powder keg that's being set off because of what's happening in Europe and the Middle East. And all while we got Donald Trump with his hands on the nuclear button.
His tiny, tiny hands on that very large button.
So this kind of makes me kind of question what's going to be happening in the future as far as war is concerned. Now, a world war, at this point in history, it ain't going to be like the last World War, right? We're not dealing with, tanks and, those old school rifles. I forget the name of them. Look, I claim to be such a gun expert at the beginning of the show, and I don't remember the name of the rifle. I'm just brain farting, by the way. I just can't remember half the stuff I'm saying. I'm live on the air, and I can really use some ice cream. But anyway,
I just want to be loved.
I just want to be loved. Does anybody have a Pop-Tart out there? they can pass me. But this ain't gonna be like the last World War where nobody has nuclear weapons. We're not the only ones sitting on a nuclear arsenal anymore.
This war could be very short and very brutal.
A lot of people can die.
There won't be a world left after this war, frankly. Because it's sort of, even if all these other countries came and provoked America, it's like a bunch of tiny little sticks poking at a very angry bear. Yeah. That's then going to come and eat all the Boy Scouts. Like, it's, there's no winner at the end of this war, and it's going to be so different from anything we've ever seen before, because since we developed all this new technology and, we're no longer just doing heavy soldier foot fighting, everything is special ops, everything is espionage, and everything is very technology driven. We'd be entering into a war, guns are blazing, but into a kind of warfare that we've never experienced before.
Right.
And I think people are forgetting when we say war now, it's not the same as the sort of vintage World War II movies that you watch in class.
It's not the same weight.
It's not, but it can do so much more damage with so much less that I think we constantly forget just how close we are to utter destruction.
And with what's going on right now, it's kind of hard to... Now, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. At least I try to be. And, I understand that, shit happens in the world. Somewhere in the world, people are always kind of fighting with each other. There's like proxy wars that take place all over the place, And I don't want to think that we're sitting on the the realm of an actual World War III. But history does have a tendency to repeat itself. You know, whenever things start to get kind of rocky in specific areas, economies start to fail, you have fascism that takes over. You have a lot of kind of extremism that drives the force. It always leads, and especially with the way we're all the major world powers are kind of involved now. You know, are we doomed to repeat ourselves through this history?
And here I was thinking history taught us to prevent, and turns out it just gives us ideas.
Oh, that's very well said. I swear, I think one of the biggest, one of the most underrated sayings in the history of mankind is, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Love that. I mean, I hate it, but
yeah,
I love it.
But exactly. Because there's an element of truth to that. Absolutely, for sure. So, hopefully, you know, we have competent people in place, and hopefully things don't burn over too much, but it really does make us question, you know, why so much military spending. We don't know what's happening. We still don't know what's happening with, I'm not going to get into the Trump and Russians thing. I'm going to stay away from it because to me,
Try and quit it.
I'm trying to quit, man.
Detox, man.
I'm trying to quit because to me, liberals are chasing their tail with that shit.
Yeah.
And we need to be focused on the next election in 2018, which is what we really need to be focused on.
Because, I mean, hell, the Republicans have been festering for years trying to get their moment. They finally have it. We need to be doing the same thing.
Exactly. And we need to keep up the resistance. Do not normalize this man.
Empire strikes back.
Right? But at the same time, I think we need to be vigilant, and we need to understand that we're still all in this together. And that we still have a responsibility towards each other as Americans, which, you know, really bends the questions of rights versus privileges. Something we need to think about. All right, y'all, that is our show. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Should be happening on live radio.
You are listening to the Mike Riley
Like
Now
how this is cutting in right now and it's not supposed to be.
Follow us.
So that's my bad too. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to start the music all over again. But either way, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody who caught me on Facebook Live, Instagram Live for the first time. God bless every single last one of you that listened. God bless Charlie. God bless Cam. God bless Brooke. Log on to YoungAngelsNetwork.org, MikeRileyNow.com, and we will see y'all next week. All right, cheers. Sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all. Peace.
Of American Network. Follow us by visiting MikeRileyNow.com.